It's all about COVID-19. Today will be a full package of the program focusing on COVID-19. What you need to know, what you can do by way of taking action to contain the spread. In Spain, just 2 cases reported sometime in February. Today we know what the situation is. And all kinds of theories have been coming forth as it relates to Africa, as it relates to Nigeria. And when you look at that, those theories critically interface them with known standards, empirical evidence. They just pale into insignificance. So today we'll be doing something very elaborate and exhaustive in this program just to help you make sense of what we have in our hands and what you can do to ensure that the story changes. COVID-19 is real, whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or not. And today we have very, very distinguished personalities that will be giving us insights into what this pandemic is about and what you can do for us to be able to collectively change the story and change the narratives as far as COVID-19 is concerned. Let me welcome very specially the Deputy Chair, Medical Advisory Committee, Research and Ethics of the University of Benin Teaching Hospital. He is also a professor and a consultant in public health and community medicine, UNIBEN and UBTH. Let me thank very specially Professor Omohua Adeleye. Prof, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Okay. We also have with him on set, I'm sure you can see him, and you'll see him in a bit, a senior lecturer and consultant in public health and community medicine, University of Benin and University of Benin Teaching Hospital, Dr. Andrew Obi. Dr. Andrew Obi, many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Prof, let's start from the basics. Let me just let our viewers know that you also have the opportunity to call into the program and ask questions. And there are also desks that have been set up in Edo State and across the world where you can make direct reports for actions to be taken. We'll be bringing in the WHO WhatsApp number. Yes, we've got it here on the program. The incident case desk in Edo State, the deputy incident case desk in Edo State. All of these platforms are available, so we'll make them available to you in the course of the program. So you stay with us so you know everything that you need to have as far as this pandemic is concerned. So, Prof, let's start with you.
Yeah.
What is coronavirus? What is he about? What does he entail?
Okay. Thank you very much, and good morning, viewers. Coronavirus is not a new name, but the general public may see it as a new name. The virus that is specifically responsible for the ongoing pandemic is, however, a new virus. Coronavirus is the name for a large range of viruses that are RNA, they belong into that category called RNA viruses. Now, corona simply means crown. It looks beautiful. It looks very attractive when you look at it under a high magnification. That's the basis of that corona, and it has some projections typical of many crowns.
Okay.
Now, the specific one responsible for the ongoing virus, simply put, can be called COVID-19 virus. But more technically, it's a special type of severe acute respiratory syndrome type of coronavirus. So we don't want to go into the technicalities, but what's important is that this virus was detected last year in 2019, which is why it is called COVID-19. It is responsible for the ongoing pandemic that has a major syndrome of pulmonary infection, especially pneumonia, which can then lead to death. Thank you.
All right. Dr. Obi, let me come to you. Why is there so much apprehension about this virus, I mean, from information available, the fear and apprehension is not really the way it ought to be. But why is it that way? Why is there so much apprehension about this virus?
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. Just like Professor Adede talked about, it's a pandemic, and the manner in which it's spreading is enough to cause panic. But the main thing is this: is that if we do what we should do, okay, and take necessary precautionary measures, then to a large extent, the rate of spread will be restricted.
Okay.
So if people don't do what they're supposed to do and begin to believe that, oh, it's a virus, it kills, it spreads so fast, panic comes up.
Okay.
But once we're able to do the needful, and I guess in the course of this program, we'll be able to articulate some of these measures, then to a large extent, things will be brought under control. It's a system thing.
Yeah.
It's not just about the individual.
Absolutely.
It's about the system
and
level of coordination. So if the system in terms of the governance is well coordinated and people know what they need to do, then I don't think there's any reason for panic.
Okay, Prof, let's go into the nitty-gritty of COVID, beginning with how people can contact the virus. I've read some literature. You hear things like, well, it doesn't spread through air. I don't know how true that is. So what is the mode of spread, how people can contact this virus? Let's start off from there.
All right, thank you very much. Very good question. Now, it's important that we know how it spreads so that we can know what to do and what not to do, so we can protect ourselves and protect the general public as a matter of individual responsibility. Also to protect our friends, our neighbors, our family members. So how does it spread? Now, the major means by which it spreads is through droplets. Now, droplets refer to tiny particles of water hanging and floating in the air. Let's keep in mind that as we speak, a lot is going on about what the virus is like, how it is spread, and so on and so forth. So what we know for now is that the major form of transmission is through droplets. Secondly, the virus hanging in the droplets can settle on surfaces. Surfaces like the microphones we hold, like tables, like phones, like hands. All of these are means by which it can be spread from person to person. And so it's important that we know these forms of spread. Now, the virus settles on our faces, hands, nostrils, and co. If we become contaminated by the virus, that doesn't mean that everybody is carrying it around. It's just that we have to be very careful. We don't know who has it. You can't see it immediately for most cases. Somebody may be ill with a pneumonia. That doesn't mean that that pneumonia was caused by COVID-19. But it could be, because right now, the best approach is to assume that it is there. Keep in mind too that many people have no symptoms, so it may not even show in a person's health. And so the assumption should be that every person stands at risk of either being infected or has been infected. That way, that attitude will help us all to be much more careful. Thank you.
Okay, I'll switch over to Dr. Andrew Obi to also give us his perspectives on how this virus spreads. Part of the reason why there's so much concerns. We as a people, I mean globally, we're used to doing a whole lot of things. If your loved ones travel and then they are back, the first thing that ordinarily you would do is a very, very good hug. Even sometimes you may even hug your enemy. I mean, just to show that, well, nothing really at stake. And then we're used to shaking hands. You just want to shake hands, you just want to hug, and do all of these things. And we're used to touching our faces, all right, particularly maybe some kind of habits that we've developed over the years. You just want to do all of these things. But all that has changed. I would have said all that is changing. No, it has changed. I saw a video, I think it was Prince Charles in England, and he just alighted from a vehicle, and as is customary, it was just about shaking the first person, and then all of a sudden he realized that that's not the way to go. Yeah. So in terms of how people can contact this virus, what are your perspectives, Dr. Obi?
Yeah, it all draws from the explanation I've just been given. And so the easiest way is through social handshaking. That's one of the major ways people can get infected, because the hand is a medium for a lot of things. A lot of things. And so if we can minimize that, that will help. Then being in compromising situations can also increase the risk. Being in an environment that is overcrowded, that can also increase your level of exposure, because we just highlighted that it could come through droplets. Okay, and although recently there are postulations that new informations are emerging in this whole corona COVID-19
based on ongoing research.
Based on ongoing research. So there are a lot of things currently, even from the WHO, they say there's a risk for air transmission. Okay, so to a large extent, it's becoming maybe an airborne issue, and so especially people who work in high-risk settings like the health establishment, health workers, they need to also take precautionary measures. So being in compromising situation of environments that would expose you to a higher chance of contracting it, then can also expose you to the risk of that. And maybe that's one of the reasons why certain governments are taking measures to limit such exposure and enforce some form of social distancing. And so, like we heard yesterday, schools have been shut from federal, from tertiary to primary. That would reduce the risk of exposure. And so that is also very, very critical in this entire process. Now, another important thing that we also should note is that the currency notes.
When you mentioned the currency, something just I saw a picture yesterday. On the 1,000 naira notes, you have two prominent Nigerians there, and they were actually masked. There was a face mask on them. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, that's to tell you that it's becoming a medium, one of the fastest mediums for possible transmission if we really have a situation in our hands. Globally, it's something that people also need to look at. And so that's to tell you that we need to do more on our part as individuals to protect ourselves and also to prevent ourselves from being exposed to it. Another important thing is that people should show patriotism in this fight against the coronavirus, and involved in any recent trip, history of recent trip into the country from anywhere potentially exposes you to the risk of COVID-19, and people should be able to do the needful. What we advocate is self-isolation, but the extent to which people comply to that, that's another issue. So if people are able to do some of these things, then to a large extent, it will help limit exposure. So these are some of the other risk factors that can expose people to COVID-19.
All right, that takes me to the big one, which has to do with the symptoms and the signs. I've heard experts say the signs and the symptoms are similar with common colds, common fever, and stuff like that. So let's get your perspectives on that, Prof.
Thank you very much. If you'll permit me, let me dwell a bit more on what we should do. At the global level, a lot is going on. The World Health Organization has provided leadership on the control of this global pandemic. It's a very, very frightening thing. But we have learned a lot of experiences over the years, and the World Health Organization is contacting and working with all nations across the world, coordinating efforts, providing technical guidance. So we shouldn't have any fear. Nigeria is within that global arrangement, and all efforts are being coordinated using technical guidance. Secondly, at individual national levels, a lot is going on. In Nigeria, there is the NCDC, that's the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, coordinating efforts in Nigeria and providing resources to all the states. There are technical committees, there are expert teams at state and federal levels and different institutions. This program, for example, is going on behalf of University of Benin Teaching Hospital. We are representing UBTH. UBTH is providing strong leadership in Nigeria within its catchment area, and ITV is partnering with us to deliver this good.
Okay.
And we need to know this. Now, what should we do when it comes to individual level? At our individual levels, a few things can be shared right away. The first thing is wash your hands. The second thing, wash your hands. The third thing, wash your hands. We cannot overemphasize
So how
that.
many times can you wash your hands?
As often as you find the opportunity to wash your hands, and often as you touch surfaces that are likely to carry some particles. There's no restriction to the number of times.
Okay.
Now, good enough, ITV has done beautifully here. I noticed that upon entry, right from the gate, very beautifully done. We have 2 opportunities there to wash your hands with soap and water, and then if you want to use a hand sanitizer, it's there. Then get into each building, you also see a setup there. That's excellent. That's what institutions should do. At that individual level, you are taking responsibility, complying with the institutional arrangement to wash your hands. Now, that's extremely important. The next thing that's important is for us to avoid touching our mouths, our nostrils, our eyes, our faces, especially with unwashed hands. This is very important because those are means of easy transmission. In case you've contaminated your fingers, you can deliver it into your nose, mouth, eyes, into your body through such means. And if you are infected by touching those parts, you can contaminate your fingers and then put other people at risk as you touch surfaces or touch people. So that's why it's important. Now, if you cough or sneeze, your elbow is important here. Just use the elbow to cover, or tissue paper, not your hands, not the usual way we've been familiar with over the years, so that we don't contaminate our hands. Now, the next thing is, suppose you are meeting people, just like we're all social people, especially in Africa, we greet a lot.
Yeah.
Please keep your hands away from the greeting. let's just do that now. It may be a bit difficult, but let's get used to it. Gradually, we'll overcome. There are different ways of greeting. You can bow, you can show gestures, you can smile, you can simply say it by your mouth. And people have used some other means, like using their feet, clocking with their feet, or using elbows, or even shoulders. But shoulders, that's coming too close a bit. So we all have to be very vigilant and very, very,
but this is a new learning curve.
Yes,
I mean, what do you make of that as a challenge?
Yes, of course, it's a behavior modification approach to the adjustments that we need to make and the control measures we need to take as individuals. There's no doubt that it will require careful rearrangement, and we have to all keep communicating change. We all need to remind one another. Somebody advances a hand towards you for a handshake. You can politely say, "Oh, thank you very much," offer your elbow instead, or give a bow. Just that way, the challenge of having to go through the change can be overcome.
All right, Doc, just give us your insights, because I mentioned a while ago that the symptoms and the signs, they are similar to what we already know.
Yes.
So,
the unique thing about COVID-19 is that most of the presentations are non-specific. And so most other viral respiratory diseases present in the same way. So one of the dangers is we haven't highlighted this. You go into the community and someone just sneezes or coughs and everybody starts shouting COVID-19, and well, having said that, on a lighter note, seriously speaking, some of the major non-specific symptoms include common cold. You have people could cough, Okay, they'll have runny nose. Sometimes they could present with fever. Sometimes they'll have this generalized body weakness. And when the symptoms begin to get very severe, it could affect their level of breathing.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they could come out with fast breathing, difficulty in breathing, and it would progress into severe pneumonia. So these are some of the non-specific symptoms that COVID-19 could present with. But having said that, in the recent past, some of the cases that have been identified globally, some of them were well. They didn't have any of these symptoms. Okay, so what we are saying here on air, on set, is that it should just guide us. Okay, you know, and people know how they feel when they are unwell.
Yeah.
And so even when it doesn't follow this typical arrangement, you know, and you notice that there's something funny about your health.
Something unusual.
Unusual.
Yeah.
And maybe you have had recent contact. And that's where Edo State, you know, where in Edo State people travel a lot.
Apart from that,
from Europe and all.
The state, you know, occupies a very unique
Unique
position as a
strategy.
gateway to
Yes.
other parts of the country,
Exactly.
the entire parts of the country, yeah.
And so that,
Yeah.
that in itself is a risk factor. And so people could come in, let's say they're coming in from Spain, Italy, and I don't want us to begin to label any country now. Any recent travel history into the States, and your contact with that person, and you notice that there's some unusual feeling, probably it could be. And so you should be able to have that high index of suspicion and report to the health facility.
Okay. That's quite interesting. Now, in the event of any of such suspicion, okay, what is the first step to take by the person involved?
Okay.
And where do you go to?
Okay, so,
Yes.
okay, if you have that, if someone feels unwell, okay, and the first thing is to first self-isolate yourself. That's not the time to start mingling. Stay within. Then the earlier part of the program, we promised that we'll put up some numbers.
Numbers, yeah, definitely.
And those numbers, if they're on screen now, it's very, very important. But I could just call out some of these numbers.
Okay.
Now, first is the NC, Nigeria Center for Disease Control.
Yeah.
If the numbers are on screen,
It's
now,
on screen now.
Fine.
Yes.
So the first thing they need to do is to reach out to that number and explain the way they are feeling, and they will be directed to a health facility. At the state level, we have the incident manager's number, which should be on screen also.
It's also on screen now.
Now, for Edo State, there are about three numbers.
Yeah, the
They
three numbers
should-
on the screens, yeah.
They should be able to contact those numbers, and they'll be directed on what to do.
Okay.
They'll be told the facility that they should report to.
Okay.
And when they get to that facility, they will be engaged by professionals there. And if there are indications that they should take laboratory samples for confirmation, that will be done. So basically, the first thing, self-isolate, keep yourself away from other persons so you don't expose other persons to the risks of COVID-19. Then you take the step to put up a call. Those numbers, especially the NCDC number, is toll-free, so they are not paying for it. I'm not too sure about the other numbers, but that first number is toll-free, so they can reach out to it, and they'll be directed on what to do.
All right, just to express appreciation to Professor Darlington Obaseki, the Chief Medical Director, University of Benin Teaching Hospital, for facilitating this conversation. The essence is to bring all the information, at least a good percentage of the information that you need to have about COVID-19, so you can take action and be protected. That's the essence of this conversation. It's going to be coming on a regular basis, as approved by my boss here, the General Manager, Independent Television, Senior Edo Ogbedo Omose, just to help you make sense of what is going on and then take action. Now we'll go back to the numbers on the screen again. We have a number there for the National Center for Disease Control. That's at the Abuja headquarters, I suppose. Yes, at the Abuja headquarters. You can call that number. You've been told the number is toll-free, which means if you call it, you won't incur any death. Just in case you notice any symptoms, any sign, like our panelists here have already highlighted, just call that number and get further details on what next to do. You also have the Edo State Incident Managers numbers. They're all there. Take advantage of those numbers and call them and add value to what is being done by providing information. Remember, we're all in this together. Now you see the way it is now. In the days of yore, I'm sure those who have monies, those who are billionaires, those who have money, whether you're a billionaire or no, you have enough money to travel abroad. I'm sure many of our people would have long taken out of check. Like Andrew, they would have checked out of this country. Well, unfortunately, not this Andrew.
Andrew's here.
Not this Andrew.
I'm not checked out.
This one is here to help salvage the situation. All right, so many of them would have checked out, but those who are abroad are finding ways to come to Nigeria. So nobody's checking out. We're all in this together. We'll fight it together. One thing is certain: we would win ultimately, and that victory can only come if we work together in synergy and have a common front in the fight against COVID-19. Okay, Prof, let me bring you up to speed. He mentioned some of the key steps to take in the event of a symptom or a sign noticed what you're supposed to do. First step is to self-isolate, and then you call those numbers. There have been concerns about test kits not available. I mean, from what I saw in the papers this morning, 33 states don't have enough test kits. Let's begin with Edo State. How prepared are we, particularly from being a frontline medical practitioner? Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Talking about test kits, there is scarcity across the country. In fact, not just Nigeria, in many countries. At the time, even the United States of America complained bitterly that there were not enough test kits, and efforts had to be made everywhere. And so that's a global challenge. Okay. But right now, I can assure you that many states are making efforts and contacting the NCDC, and NCDC is responding to it. NCDC is in contact with the World Health Organization and the United States Center for Disease Control, which are ready to, not just ready, actually providing support for the control efforts, including the provision of test kits. Not long from now, University of Benin Teaching Hospital will be able to use those test kits on people. The test kits available in Edo State for now is what's available in the IRWA Specialist Teaching Hospital. That's at the state level and also at national level. So the Edo State government is partnering with the federal government at IRWA Specialist Teaching Hospital and with University of Benin Teaching Hospital. And the test kits will be available nationwide in a better way in the next few days.
I heard about Stella Obasanjo having an isolation center. I don't know how true that is, Prof.
Yes, it does have an isolation center. Edo State government is working hard to put things together in that isolation center. University of Benin Teaching Hospital is in fact partnering in that direction. And even an NGO has expressed interest in supporting in terms of staffing of the isolation center. So attention is building. Equipment will be installed in the next few days. And these are basic things, consumable samples. So within the next 1 or 2 days, the isolation center will come into full force to be able to accept any. For now, let's keep in mind that no case has been detected in Edo State.
In the event,
so
in the event that happens,
yes,
where do you take the person to? There's no isolation center ready, like you said.
Excellent. So in the event that that happens, if it is within UBTH, we can take that patient for now, but we'll quickly move the patient to the isolation center. Immediately we know that the place is sufficiently equipped. So right now, there is sufficient to respond to the initial demands.
Okay. Let me.
Please don't forget, call the numbers.
Yes.
Then needs to know what to do as a first step.
Okay. How ready are practitioner, medical practitioner, how ready in terms of capacity, in terms of knowledge, in terms of information to deal with COVID?
Well, I think that's a very important question, and it's an ongoing thing. We can only speak categorically for our establishment, UBTH, and I want to tell everyone that the management of University of Benin is doing everything in terms of capacity building, in terms of making resources available, in terms of the issue bordering on training, which is very critical for this kind of engagement. So the management is doing everything necessary to ensure that when we have such a case, we have the capacity in terms of manpower, in terms of equipment to handle it. But for the state, I think the state government will be in a better position to give us.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, Professor Adeleye and Dr. Andrew Obi. Well, thank you so much for your time with us. But they're not living here just yet because they're still here with us to answer some of the questions that you'd love to ask. Our studio line is 052-290-573. You'll dial that number right now and ask your question or make your contribution. I'm sure we've got a lot of questions to ask. 052-290-573. That's our studio number. That number right now. Then you have the opportunity to ask one or two questions just to ensure you are part of this conversation. Before the call starts coming, we have a good authority that this virus came from Wuhan in China. That's why President Donald Trump called it Chinese virus. And I agree with him absolutely. I agree with him absolutely. But the point is, China has said right now there's no more indigenous coronavirus. All the newly reported cases are people, they are imported. I don't get. So how, in your opinion, was China able to address this? And then are there mistakes made by other countries, people in other countries, that has made this virus to spread so rapidly with the mortality so high that we can learn from China to Italy to Spain and a host of other countries? Prof.
All right. Thank you very much. Very, very interesting. Now, there's a political dimension to this. It's understandable because the U.S. and China are competing nations in the international community, and they want to show some form of superiority in economic and technological terms. But beyond the politics, what's important is what you now asked as a follow-up. What are the lessons to learn? Number one is this. For China, let's be very frank, China was initially secretive about that transmission, about the presence of a new infection. In fact, it is classified by the World Health Organization and public health experts as an emerging infectious disease. The moment you see a new infection, you must report immediately. But there was some secretive handling. It was not made known. Even within China, many people did not know. Gradually, information sieved out. Well, by the time information came out, transmission across borders had already started taking place. It was only after then that the US, European countries, and co started making efforts to detect it. And of course, being a new infection, it means you need to develop the technology to detect it. So the time to develop that technology and put things in place now allowed that infection to spread further. Now the key lesson, therefore, is that immediately such a thing is suspected, it should be made known by the country involved. That's one big lesson. The second big lesson is that every country should be prepared for emergencies because these things will yet happen. In the past half a century, quite a few viruses here and there have come up that we did not know before now. And what's important is that all health authorities, all countries, all health-related institutions, including hospitals, must be very, very ready. What is happening in Spain, in many European countries actually, is particularly important. They form a block of a type of response, whereas many Asian countries, including China, used another approach. And what is the difference here? Now, for the Asian countries that got to know, including China, which it later did, there was more inclination towards using a lockdown approach. Shut your borders, allow almost nobody to cross, and let people remain indoors. that has been found to be extremely useful. In the past 4 or 5 days, we have not heard of a new case in China. But China need not boast that, oh, the new cases that they had in the last few days,
they're all imported.
They are all imported.
Yeah.
If you exported something,
exported
it, why should you boast about it? I don't think it's something that they need to boast about. But what's important is, let's learn from that lesson. The European countries are a bit more conservative, especially because of issues of economy, human rights, and co. And the US too. So we don't do sudden harm to people's rights and movements and co. But whichever approach we use, let's just be sure that it is evidence-based and it is consistent with what is socially acceptable and what people will comply with. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Obi, I know you'd love to ask something to that, but let me just say that this is really not the first time. There was a public notice I saw yesterday. It actually came out 19th October 1918. Comrade Austin Osakwe, Executive Director of Foundation for Good Governance and Social Change, sent me this one yesterday. I wish I can put it on the screen so you can see what it came out 19th October 1918, and it read. Let me read it to you. Say, Corporation of the City of Kelowna. It says, public notice. Notice is hereby given that in order to prevent the spread of Spanish influenza, all schools, public and private, churches, theaters, moving picture halls, pool rooms, and other places of amusement and large meetings are to be closed until further notice. All public gatherings consisting of 10 or more are prohibited. So it's not new what's happening. But I think we'll have our first caller. Hello, caller. Good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Good morning, caller.
I'm Ibude Samuel, calling from Ugbowo, Benin City.
Okay, Ibude Samuel is calling us from Ugbowo, Benin City. Let's hear your question. Prof is here.
Well,
Dr. Andrew is here.
Thank you, Mr. Sonny Kokoso, for the enlightenment. But I just have a question for the doctors and the professors there. Apart from enlightening us and all that, what are they doing? Is it that they are not trained to do anything about the virus? What are they doing in the University of Benin and the UBTH, you know, in a bid to find a cure or whatever for the disease? Is it that we cannot do that here? That's my question.
Okay, I'm sure Prof got to the question. He asked about what has been done at the level of University of Benin Teaching Hospital. Are you guys working on finding a cure? Has a cure been found? What's going on? Yeah, so let's get your thoughts. Prof.
All right, thank you. Yes, thank you for trusting University of Benin Teaching Hospital to do something about getting a cure. That's very, very important. As a research institution, we owe the public that duty in that direction. As things are now, all right, there is no known or established cure. But University of Benin Teaching Hospital has indicated interest in participating in a large-scale clinical trial of some drugs that are suspected to be able to provide a cure. Some drugs of interest that we're particularly interested in University of Benin Teaching Hospital are, as you would expect, chloroquine, especially hydroxychloroquine. We're also thinking of how to deploy azithromycin. If we're able to do this in a clinical trial, hopefully we'll be able to participate in a global clinical trial going on to be able to find evidence for or against the use of those drugs for the treatment of the virus. Okay. But that's quite a challenge. In the midst of an epidemic, having to do that is not easy. However, regulations are being adjusted to make it easier to carry out the trials and find a solution for humankind.
Okay. I'm sure, Mr. Ibude, your questions have been adequately answered. 052-290573. That's the number. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Chadwick calling from Moluku.
Chadwick from Moluku. Please go ahead.
Okay, good morning, Prof. What I want to say is that, especially in this our society where we have a lot of population gatherings, markets, and the like, with the numbers displayed on the screen now, if maybe along the road, because right now it's going to be humanity, for the suspect to the other, watching closely, and maybe we see somebody develop a sign or a symptom. It might be a coronavirus symptom, it might not be a coronavirus symptom. If we call the numbers from, for example, do we have a task force? Is there a task force that will swoop in because you don't know where the person is going to go in, and you don't know whether you're going to ask the person a question, you don't know how the reaction will be or something. We have a task force immediately that will just come in, station at the field location, so immediately take that person into test or quarantine. So that's a challenge I believe we should address on the program. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm sure you got the question, Prof. Now, he's asking, is there a task force in the event that someone has these symptoms that we mentioned, maybe likelihood of coronavirus infection or something? Is there a task force in place that can immediately pick up that person? Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. It's good to hear questions like this. It shows that the public is interested and people are showing interest in participating in ensuring that we have a safe society. Is there a task force in place? Yes, the Edo State government has put together an arrangement, but we will not dwell much on that in the process of this interview, because we would want the Edo State government to come out and say more about this. And you can be well rest assured that Edo State government will do that very soon. A lot of work is going on. The governor is taking personal responsibility with the deputy governor, commissioner of health, and other health experts. So in the ensuing days, they will come out with clear details.
Okay.
Now you talked about marketplaces and other public places. Yeah. That's very important. And it's an issue that has raised concerns, and I'm sure they'll respond to that. But talking generally speaking, there's a common counsel we give. If you don't have to go out, please stay indoors. And even when you stay indoors, open your windows. Let everywhere be well ventilated. It's even good counsel to stay outside within your premises, so that there can be good ventilation. Avoid overcrowding and avoid crowding generally. Thank you.
All right, let's take another call. 052290573. Hello, caller. Good morning. You're live on the program. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, you need to speak up a little bit because it's a bit faint.
Okay, sir. Good morning, sir.
We can barely hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's say your contribution. It's a bit faint though. Yeah.
Good morning, doctor.
I have to take you out because we can't hear you. Our next caller, just turn down the audio level on your TV to remove the echo so we can hear you better. Hello, good morning. Hello, caller, good morning. Okay, so we'll give the opportunity to another person. Please turn down the audio level on your TV to remove the echo. Or you move backward. Hello, caller. Good morning. We're having a bit of challenges to ensure. Please, if you call and it goes through, turn down the audio level on your TV, or better still, move backward. That will help to remove the echo, so we can hear you and you can hear us. Okay, we'll have our next caller. Good morning, caller. Hello?
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, I'm Bishop Ben. I'm calling from Benin.
Bishop Ben, calling us from Benin. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question to ask. In respect of shutting down the public places like worship centers, schools, and thereabouts.
Yes.
What about our markets?
Okay. Okay. So, maybe Dr. Andrew, you want to give us some views on that? Shutting down of public places, churches. What about market? A bishop is asking this question.
Before a market can be shut down, it has to come from the government. And we also have to bear in mind that most of the measures that we have talked about will help protect us. And another important information is that we don't have a reported case yet within Edo State. Okay? There should be some form of restriction. That's the main thing. But shutting down all markets or places of worship or where social engagement, that totally falls under the purview of the government.
Absolutely.
And so, like we already know, there's a task force, and as the situation unravels, and with more information, if there's a need to shut down certain places or restrict access, definitely it will come.
Okay.
So it's a matter of time.
Okay. Our studio line is still open. And just to let you know that we have a WhatsApp number for any communication or information transmission to the World Health Organization. You see that number shortly on the screen. Take advantage. That's the WHO WhatsApp number. You can send a message directly to that number and they will respond to you. But Prof, maybe you want to throw some light into that.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Yes. Concerning that WhatsApp number, what you need to do is save it in your phone. It will automatically save in. The thing you need to do is to send the word hi, H-I, just send H-I, hi, to WHO. Then you will see a list of instructions. If you want information on this, send the number 1. If you want information on that, send 2, and so on and so forth. So that way, you are able to get further information.
And they're all toll free.
They're all, well, I don't know if they are.
But you got to have data on your phone. Okay.
On your phone for yes.
Just
for
communication.
WhatsApp.
Okay.
It's not for calls.
Okay.
Yes.
So I hope you got that. This number is WHO number. It's not for calls. It's for WhatsApp interaction. But you've got to have data on your phone. But I'm sure whatever cost you pay just to get adequate information to protect yourself, your family, your neighbors, and the society at large is worth it. Our studio line is still open. 080525973. That's the number. Dial the number right now and let's get your contribution. 052290573. We'll have you on this morning on ITV Caller. Good morning. Tell us your name.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, where are you calling us from?
I'm Daniel. I'm calling from Benin.
Okay, Daniel, go ahead, please.
Yes. I just like to I appreciate the effort made to sensitize people on this pandemic.
Okay.
But what I'm still worried about is some people, especially at the grassroots, still believe that this disease is a what they call it, it's a rumor. Some are even saying it doesn't exist. And I try to educate some of them on this thing. So I'm really worried that if by venture this disease enters the country, I think, especially in Edo State, or then we are here, I think the ignorance of some people are going to really affect us. So what is UBTS? I know that we come on air and you come on air and you are educating us, but some people are really not watching, some people are not listening, some people are just carrying on with their. What's that? The role you are playing in sensitizing the people at the grassroots on the streets. That's just my question.
Okay, good question. Prof, at the grassroots level, there's still this level of skepticism, doubts, people trivializing. I said this earlier, this is not real, this is rumor, this is fake. It's just one way government people wants to make money for themselves, and a whole lot of things going on. So how are we dealing with that here?
Thank you very much. And I thank you very much, Dan, for asking that question. It shows that you are interested in the well-being of the society. Now, how is Edo State government dealing with that? Edo State government will come out with a statement on that soon. But this is University of Benin Teaching Hospital. And because we're collaborating with the Edo State government, we do have some information. I'm aware, for example, that the government parleyed with traditional rulers a few days ago, discussing how to implement these measures at everyday community level. Now, that's not enough because a lot more still needs to be done. through the health centers, through schools, through other institutional arrangements, to our villages, through associations, unions, and so on and so forth. All those details will be spelled out in a moment.
Okay. 052290 TMI Monday morning. Call that number now. Ask your questions or make your contributions on COVID-19 containing the spread in Nigeria. Well, some papers reported that a total of 30 reported. Some say 26. Thank God no deaths yet. We hope that doesn't ever happen. But efforts are being made to ensure that it is contained, because we know in some countries, just with 2 people, the whole country, went up in flames, so to speak, in the spread of COVID. We're hoping that the structures being put in place and many more that will come will actually help to deal with it. But you have a role to play. That's why we're giving you this platform, courtesy of the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, led by Professor Darlington Obaseki, and of course the ITV radio, where we're having this conversation now, just to help you make sense of all that is going on. If you're still in doubt, then of course you're putting yourself in danger. Not only yourself, your family, and your neighbors, because peradventure you contact the virus. That will be a major health hazard, not only to you, to everyone that is connected to you, everyone that has had contact with you. And just in case you notice any sign, any symptom, you have the number of the National Center for Disease Control. Is on the screen, is toll free. You can call that number without incurring any death. You also have the Edo State Incident Managers numbers. They're on the screen. Call those numbers as well. So you'll be given the right, you'll be told exactly what to do. So let's take more calls now. We've got this one coming in from who? Hello, caller. Good morning. Where are you calling us from?
Good morning. I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
Okay, please go ahead. Tell us your name and go ahead, please. From Port Harcourt, go ahead. What happened? Okay, next caller is on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, my name is Thomas.
Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Benin.
Okay, please go ahead.
What of all those, they simply be stay indoors? What of those ones that don't have jobs, they don't have money to eat, they don't have money to buy anything? Is there anything government is prepared for them?
Okay, that's a good question, and I'm sure that in our subsequent presentation on this program, the Honorable Commissioner for Health will join us. But we kick off today with medical expert from the University of Benin Teaching Hospital. Prof, I don't know if you have answered to that question.
Well,
I
must say
stay indoors. What about the food? How are people going to feed?
Yes, that's the reason why no lockdown has been pronounced anywhere in the country for now. And so we must therefore advise that panic buying and all that, we should be very careful about that. But let's be clear, if a lockdown is going to be ordered, the usual approach is to give a notice. And that will allow people time to buy things, and it will be for a period that we can cope with. A complete lockdown is rare, and it's unlikely to be what we would be advocating. But what is important is that if you don't have to go out, stay at home. While indoors, keep your doors, keep your windows open as much as possible. How do you get food? Of course, buy from the market and look after your family. Have enough to last for a period that makes sense. When you stay at home, you save money actually. Ceremonies should be reduced. That will save you some money, and so you can look after yourself better. Thank you.
Okay, so I hope you made sense of that, our last caller. Right now, no lockdown. Lockdown means don't go anywhere, just stay indoors. Nobody's moving. I saw a video over the week. I think it's from Italy or so, Bizante or something. I can't remember the name now. A whole city, a mega city. With all the flyovers, the sophisticated roads and all of that. The whole place deserted. You just see one single vehicle. I'm sure maybe a paramedic on the road, on a major highway. All right, that's really, really sad, but that's the reality. Actions have to be taken to contain the virus. Some of them very painful, but if that's what's needed to be able to contain the virus until this period elapses, until it goes away, we have to do it. We haven't got into that stage yet, and we pray we don't get to that stage yet. And if we're not going to get to that stage, you have a role to play. That's why we have this conversation going. So call us on 080-052-290-573 is our studio number. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, tell us your name and where you're calling from. Please turn down the audio level on your TV set to remove the echo. Turn it down. All right. Yes, what's your name?
My name is Stephanie.
Stephanie, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from...
Hello, Stephanie. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm calling from Benin.
Okay, go ahead with your contribution. Go ahead with your question.
Why?
Why what? We're listening to you.
Why to go to God?
Hello? It's like there's someone telling you what to say, Stephanie.
Stop body students from going to school.
Why?
They don't need to stop body students from going to school.
Okay, there was no need to stop children from going to school?
Yes, boarding school.
Okay, boarding school. All right, Dr. Andrew Obi will talk to you on that one now. Yes, Stephanie, just listen to the advice coming from Dr. Andrew Obi here. Okay.
Okay, Stephanie, it's a step in the right direction. We must be proactive, okay? The fact that we have not reported any case in Edo State, we must also learn from the experiences of other countries that have been able to tackle it.
Yeah.
And one of the measures is to restrict certain forms of gathering.
Yeah.
And it's very, very critical because children, we didn't mention it earlier, they form a high-risk group.
Yeah.
There are two main categories. There are others, the children and the elderly.
Yeah.
The experience in Italy and Spain because of the aged population.
Yeah.
So it's more severe in these two categories of population.
Okay.
And so anything to limit the exposure of these two groups of population to the larger population, it's also very, very important. So I think that's a very important step by government to help curtail this.
All right, Stephanie, I hope we made sense in the explanation just given now by Dr. Andrew Obi. We have to try as much as possible to limit all forms of gathering. And this action was taken by government to also contain the spread. I'm sure that in no distant time, all of this will be over. And you'll be back to school again, and then you meet with all your friends that you're probably going to miss within this period. Remember, it's just for a time, and I'm hoping that that time for this virus to go away will not be so far away. All right, 052-290-573, that's the studio number, your name and where you're calling from, and then go ahead with your contribution. Hello, caller, good morning. What's your name and where you're calling us from?
Good morning. My name is Felix. I'm calling from Benin.
Felix, go ahead with your contribution or your question.
Thank you very much. I love what the men in the studio are doing.
Thank you.
For this awareness as well.
Thank you.
And my question is we got an information that the public schools at the moment has been shut down in the state.
Yeah.
And I want to know what about the worship centers at the moment? What are the measures put in place in most of these worship centers? Have they been given any kind of education by the government on how to handle their worshippers in each of their services, whether on Sunday services or any of the basic services, on how they need to control this virus?
Okay.
Because we know that in worship centers we used to have more people in some of these worship centers. And what are they doing as the members are coming into the church and as they're going in? What are they telling them? Thank you.
Prof, you have some information on that. We haven't heard any statement specifically from government now in that regard, but let's get your thoughts.
All right, thank you very much. And I must continue to commend our callers and the general public for showing interest and taking responsibility for societal protection. Now, let's make this clear. In a moment, we hope that the Edo State government will come up with more details. But the government has already taken, Edo State government has taken some steps already. Like I said earlier, Meetings have been held with different groups, including heads of churches, religious leaders in Edo State. But beyond that, a lot of churches have already taken initiatives. Yes. Some of you may have noticed that in your churches, some, maybe not all, you had an opportunity to wash your hands before entering the church. Perhaps some distancing was created. In my church, the church I attended yesterday, of course, arrangements were made to ensure that people do not sit next to each other as much as possible. With an arrangement to even improve on that later on. So even without waiting for specific directives from the government, churches, religious organizations are already taking initiatives. If you can promote this in your own religious organization, that would be fantastic. Just to let us know, the council is to ensure that the distance between you and the next person sitting in that same congregational arrangement is at least 5 or 6 feet. That means the long ruler that is used commonly in schools, that's 1 foot. Just think of that 5 to 6 to keep a distance from the person sitting next to you.
Okay. And in some churches, hand sanitizers were also provided, which were given to the worshippers before they enter. As you come out of the church to do one thing or the other, you're going back, you must use that. In my church, we did that yesterday. Those are measures, actions being taken by churches just to ensure that even before a final statement is made by government on it, they're already doing something in that direction. And I can tell you for sure that there was an avalanche of prayers yesterday in churches against COVID-19. And of course, if men will pray, there's also a God to answer. And I know that God has heard our prayers. Okay, let's take more calls. Hello, caller. Good morning. Yeah, good morning. Turn down the audio level on your TV. Just turn it down, or you move backwards to remove the echo. Have you done that? Okay, good morning. Tell us your name and go ahead.
My name is Ken.
Your name is?
Ken.
Ken, go ahead, please.
Sir, if actually the Nigerian government, we are speaking about the coronavirus of the case, I believe they do these house-to-house for children bullying. Can they go to different houses and carry out tests to actually know those that have it? Because the way the thing is doing, the Nigerian government is not, they still allow foreigners to come into our country. And I see the people that will experience that have actually caused these virus, they are people that came from other countries. That thing, they are supposed to go to them, just carry out test. We do not take our government anything to do the test, to know those that have it, and those should be taken.
So you're recommending that government should put structures in place to go from house to house to do what? To test everybody?
Yes, everybody, to test everybody.
Okay. All right. For how feasible is this strategy, going from house to house? I think what probably should be the best thing to do is to go from house to house to do sensitization and awareness creation. I don't know what you make of this, Prof.
That's very, very good. House-to-house sensitization, house-to-house education, excellent recommendation. And you know what? It is already happening. So you in your house, hearing what we are saying now, say it in your house. Say it to your neighbors, left and right, front and back. That way, we will all be doing house-to-house, person-to-person communication. Okay. It doesn't have to be by the government.
No, but this guy is saying that we should do house-to-house testing. Yes.
That would be very idealistic.
Okay.
But we would need to prioritize these things because they involve a lot of costs.
Okay.
And if you have to go through all the houses in Nigeria, millions of houses, how many workers would need to be trained to go to so many millions of houses across Nigeria?
Yeah.
It's not realistic. What we would prefer to do is to identify high-risk persons, by you calling on the authorities, and then response will be given, and the people that need to be tested will be tested.
We have you on the program now. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and ask your questions. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. My name is Benjamin.
Okay, Benjamin, could you turn down the audio level on your TV to remove the echo? You just move backward a little bit. Okay.
So I'm calling from Upper Sakumba.
Upper Sakumba, yeah.
Okay, I have this worry concerning this problem that's on ground. The transport sector, what are they doing about it? Okay. I heard the prof saying just a moment ago that we have to space ourselves maybe 6 feet apart. But when we are in the commercial bus, how will this one come about? How do we, subdue this?
Okay.
Because you see our buses, they are loaded 10 passengers in the seat or in the bus.
Yeah.
When you are traveling, we have about 15 in the bus. So we conquer this.
Okay. I can tell you right away, there hasn't been any statement from government on that one about how the transporters are supposed to conduct themselves. But I think that some of the transporters have also taken the initiative to take action and deploy some basic hygiene, provide containers where you can wash your hands with soap and water, and provide hand sanitizers before you embark on any trip. But as to shutting down transport lines, we haven't heard anything from government on that one. And I'm sure that since we really haven't had a reported case, these measures will suffice for now. But the question has always been, do we need to wait for a case to happen before we take this action? Is prevention not better than cure? Dr. Andrew?
Yes, I think there's another important thing. Prevention obviously is better than cure. There's something that I think we can do to help the situation, and that is, if you have any history of anybody that is within your community that has just returned from a foreign trip, those numbers that we displayed on the screen, is also very important that you reach out to them.
Okay.
Just to help monitor them.
Okay.
To see if they develop any of such symptoms, and also to help instruct them to limit movement. Our people are very social. Someone told me recently, I don't know how true it is, someone came in recently last week from Italy, and he was found everywhere. Ideally, one of the measures countries like China had used is that you must self-isolate for 14 days, irrespective of whether you have symptoms or not.
You don't have symptoms.
That measure is also very, very vital.
Okay, now we'll take a short break. Obviously, many people still want to call, ask one question or the other, and contribute to the discussion. But right now, we're going to take a short break. Right after the break, when we return, we will continue with our conversation on COVID-19 containing the spread of the virus in Nigeria. All of that will come to you in a moment. Stay with us on TMI. Prof is still here. Dr. Andrew Obi. This one is not checking out. It's right here with us just to ensure that we contain COVID together. We'll be back with you in a moment. Don't go away.
TMI. Every opinion counts.
Okay, thanks again for staying with us. Just a quick one, as we call it a wrap. What are your final thoughts, Professor Adeleye Moha and Dr. Andrew Obi? Yeah, let me begin with Prof. Final thoughts.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
On a final note for today, I want to commend every citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I want to commend all institutions. I want to commend the ITV and everybody who has played a role in one way or the other to ensure that we have a control program going on. Even for those who have criticized the government, criticized health workers and co for not doing enough, it's all a part of the total participation. It shows that we are all involved. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep getting it right. Remember, wash your hands. Don't touch your face, nose, mouth, eyes. Take your hands off those. Cough into your elbow if you must cough or sneeze. If you must go out, must socialize, avoid handshakes, keep a distance. and our transport systems, all associations, unions should start taking initiative.
Okay.
For example, the NURTW should start telling their drivers, have hand sanitizers for all your passengers.
Okay.
Keep windows open. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Obi, one word.
I want to also appreciate everyone that has called in today, and I want to dissuade us from every form of panic. We're able to handle the Ebola in 2014, and I believe strongly that if we do the needful, we'll be able to contain this. And my final thought is that if you have anybody that has a recent travel history into Edo State, call those numbers on the screen. And if you know of any contact to such persons, also call the number so that we can have a list that we can easily follow up.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I saw you brought a hand sanitizer. Is it empty?
Yes.
is this one empty? Or you have
there's something in there.
Okay, let me just have a little of it.
Okay, right. I think this is important.
Yeah, it's very important. So it's not just like we are talking. All right. So I'm doing that. Yeah, I'm doing that. I know that right now, the best way actually to greet is to greet the Indian ways. The Indians will say namaste. So, Prof, namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Okay, it's the TMI Monday. We'll take a short break. We'll have a couple of interviews coming up before we call it a wrap finally. Don't go away. Stay with us.